Welcome back to Season 6 of Time to Change.
We have some amazing conversations lined up from people doing the work. I'm excited for those and the change that it'll hopefully spark.
I can't wait to jump in. So let's get started.
Dom. Let's do it. Today in the house, Peter Schaller, the executive director of Rayo de Sol, Nicaragua in Matagalpa. Man, great to have you in the house today. Really appreciate it. And I'm going to start off by just saying, what prompted you to want to go to Matagalpa, Nicaragua, and start doing this work?
Oh my gosh, that's a big question to start off with. Well, first of all, just thank you, Chason and Dom, for creating this space. As nonprofits, we're always looking for ways to get our message out and reach new audiences. So this is a great opportunity. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, that's a hard question to answer because I've lived here now for more than 25, somewhere between 25 and 30 years, most of my adult life. I came down as a recent college grad volunteer, just wanting to do something a little bit different in Latin America, and just really felt like I was coming home when I got here. So Nicaragua is, a lot of people don't know a whole lot about it because it's usually not in the news unless something really bad happens here. It was in the news a lot in the 1980s when I was growing up. And then it's kind of dropped out of sight, but it's one of those Central American countries that's suffered from just about everything you can imagine in the 20th, 21st century, Civil War, Revolutionary War, Counter-Revolutionary War, a lot of U.S. intervention, hurricanes, earthquakes, just about everything imaginable. And I think I just decided to stay because there's still so much work to do. I know that you guys know this and the work that you do as well, but poverty is a really complex issue. There's no easy solution, and I've been working I worked a lot in the States doing social services before I moved here, and there is no easy formula to get people into a better quality of life. It takes a lot of trial and error, it takes a lot of patience, and it's a long-term process. So I'm not sure if I exactly answered your question, Chason, but
You did.
That's what got me here, and decided to stay because we've still got so much to do.
Hey, well, tell us a little bit more about Rayo de Sol, Nicaragua, and people, if you are watching this, scan that QR code above Peter's left shoulder. That will take you to their website where you can find out more about them and get involved. But, tell us basically, give us the rundown about what you guys do.
Sure. So we work, as you mentioned, in Matagalpa, which is in the sort of north central highlands. It's a mountainous region, although the mountains are only about 1,500 meters, so 4,000 feet or something. They're not huge mountains like the Andes. We're in the heart of coffee growing country, so those of you who like coffee, you're welcome to visit.
Fantastic coffee.
Amazing
It's
coffee.
Fantastic.
But the coffee industry is also quite brutal. So it's really like a feudal system, and it continues to be that way. So most of the people in this area are sort of subservient and depending on the coffee industry, either on the farms or right now that the harvest is coming in. It's kind of exciting to see because it's something so different than what you would see. Like I grew up in New England, so it's definitely nothing I would ever see in Connecticut. But coffee gets processed on these huge drying patios, for a few months, and there's just thousands of people working at it. But it's seasonal work, it's short-term work, and it's very low paying. So the coffee industry is sort of a double-edged sword. It is Nicaragua's primary export product, but it also sort of contributes to critical economic conditions. So we have developed over the past 12 years an integral approach to community development. We work in 43 communities here in Matagalpa. Most of them are rural. Some are in the urban part of the city, sort of on the peripheral area, which is, in most developing countries, there's this constant influx of people from the countryside to the cities thinking they're going to find better life in the city, which very rarely happens. And so you end up with these expanding urban areas, and the further out you go, the more precarious the conditions are. So we intentionally place ourselves sort of in the line of fire in the most precarious, vulnerable neighborhoods and rural communities. And we have we're a non-denominational, faith-based organization. So We don't try and convert anybody, or we're not planting churches, but we are a non-denominational Christian organization, so we use that as our value system, that people know why we do what we do. So we have a spiritual growth program just to guide people in that conversation, where they are and where they're going in their faith. We have probably our signature program is primary education. We work in partnership with the Ministry of Education in 43 primary schools, providing teacher training, infrastructure improvements, extracurricular planning, reading in libraries. That's a wealth of activities, school nutrition as well. We have a community health program because most of the areas that we service don't have access to health services. So we have a doctor and a nurse on staff that see patients full time. Our fourth program is called Youth in Action. It's a scholarship program to keep kids in school, because when we started up here 12 years ago, most of the kids didn't even make it through the 6th grade, which is the end of primary school, and very few, maybe 10%, were going on to high school, which is 7th through 11th grade. So we set up a scholarship program to keep kids in school through high school. And now we have the sort of a good problem to have is that we're getting a lot of high school grads. So we've added on technical and university scholarships to that. So we've got 800 students in the scholarship program this year. And our last, I should have dropped the number a little bit back, but our primary program reaches 5,250 students,
Wow.
250 teachers. So we've grown quite a bit. Our doctor sees about 4,500 patients a year.
Wow.
So we service an area, that's probably about a population of about 25,000 people. So most of those people receive some kind of a service. Our last program is community development, which is where we're going to kind of tie everything together here, where we focus more on economic opportunities. It's often easier. I was talking to somebody earlier in the day about this today. It's often easier in this type of economy for people to start a small business out of their home than it is to get formal employment. There's very little formal employment. But if you can, like sell tortillas out of your house, or a lot of people will sell like street food. We set up some bakeries. We train women in sewing. Our focus is on providing vocational education. We provide seed capital to get people started in a small business, and then we, follow up and training and entrepreneurship so that people can really work towards success in the business. So that was a long-winded answer, but we do a lot of things.
That's
Sorry.
fantastic. No,
A
it's
lot of outstanding things. And I'm actually, as you were talking through that, Peter, my mind went back to the comment you made earlier about poverty being such a complex thing. I'm curious, the ways that you are serving the community, did those evolve over time? Was it like see a need, fill a need, or was there an intentional approach to those particular focal points that you all decided to serve in?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a mixture. I feel like I have a friend, we joke about this. There's no easy answer to these questions, right? So, part of it is just built up experience. So, this organization, we got off the ground about 12 years ago, and I've been working in community development for, let's say, 15 years prior to that. So a lot of that is just sort of copying program models that we've used in other areas and other organizations. So we started out with an education program mostly focused on children. And then everything else has kind of grown out from there. So one of the things that I think makes our organization unique is that we really are built on relationships. If you don't have intimate, trusting relationships with people that you're serving, it's really hard to make an impact in their lives. So the more we get to know people in the community, we've got sort of a methodology for this too, where we enter a community through the school, which is a neutral area where everybody has a common interest, and that's how we get to know people that might be from different political backgrounds, which can be very divisive here, different religious backgrounds. It's a little bit strange because we're used to a sort of a diverse religious culture in the U.S., but here it's a Christian country where there's a great divide between Catholicism and Protestantism. So
wow.
it wouldn't seem like that to us because we're used to growing up, on every block there's an Episcopalian church and a Lutheran church and a Catholic church and Methodist and whatever, but not so here. So, those are gaps that we try and bridge when we get into the school. And the more you get to know people and get into conversations, we learn about needs, and then we've built out programs based on those conversations.
That's fantastic. I mean, it's the amount of work that you're doing and how you involve the community and bring people in to your different programs is incredible. I've been fortunate to watch this from outside and see with a group that you and I are both part of, the Outlier Project, watching as they were going and videotaping last year. And I was so bummed that I could not go last year. And this year I'm actually doing a trip later on. We'll talk about that in a second. But I am just amazed at how much you're actually able to accomplish with so little. I mean, it really is inspiring for me as a nonprofit founder myself. I mean, I'm just inspired daily by people like you that are like, hey, this is what we want to accomplish. How do we do it? How can we make it happen? And so that is, I just wanted to shout out that to you.
I appreciate that. And, you know, I've like I mentioned earlier, I've worked pretty much my whole life in nonprofits. I mean, since I was 20 years old or something like that. That's 35 years now. And I've seen a lot of things done very poorly, and I've seen a lot of money poorly spent. So I didn't actually found Rayo de Sol was founded by some friends in Atlanta. I didn't know they weren't friends when they founded it, but we built obviously a friendship. But they didn't really know what to do with it. So we built out the model, from the first conversation we had, which was probably around 2008 or 9. And then we're about 12 years into this model, and we are really insistent about creating something that's unique. I mean, we're very efficient. All of our information obviously is open public. I don't think a lot of people know this, but all of our financial reports are public information, right? So if I'm going to donate to a nonprofit, the first thing I do is look up their 990. If anybody's listening and curious about an organization, you want to know like how much their executive director makes or how much they spend on communications, you look up their 990 and it's all there. So if people look up our these are reports that we present to the IRS every year. If they look up our 990s, you'll see that our budget is relatively low for the impact that we create. I think we get a lot of impact per dollar, more than a lot of other organizations that are more top heavy and spend more of their budget on back office expenses and overhead. So that's been very intentional, and we've tried to build out a model that's very sincere and true to our values, and also extremely efficient in the way we use resources.
I'm glad you said that, because I mean, this is our third year, and as we go through this is the first time that I actually had to say, well, not 100% of our donations are going, but 87% of our donations are going to programs, because we've gotten to the place now that we're doing other things, and that's that raises costs. But yeah, being transparent, showing everybody where's the money coming from, where's it going, and keeping those expenditures as low as possible. I can't do anything about insurance rates, but I got to have them, and I got to have, you have to have multiple different insurance packages to protect everybody and protect the organization and protect what we're doing. But you also have to be, you want as many as much of that money to go directly to what you're doing as possible. So I appreciate that. And yeah, I was standing, we were in Scott McGregor's house. And this question, I was standing next to this guy, and everybody's all excited about the event, and everybody's, there's these great questions. And this guy next to me, who had had a few too many, he goes and he asks the most crazy question, and Peter basically says that to him, like, hey, you can find out, and about any nonprofit. We have to do this. The IRS requires us. And I know from your standpoint, like, hey, look, we're in half the United States where we're registered. So every single state has a different component that they want us to, give them, but all of them want those 990s. They all want to see, where's the money going? How are you using it? So Yeah, I appreciate that very much, and I love the work that you're doing. Dom, I've been hogging the mic, but I'll give you.
No, you're all good. I'm enjoying. But I think what stands out to me in what you're discussing is making your resources when you're in this type of work, making it stretch. And one of the ways to do that I always admire about Chason, you and how you lead, but also Peter, I'm sure it's how you have grown as well. And that's leveraging the partnership of others. So I'm
Yes.
curious if you can talk about the power of partnership and how that helps you, actually both you, Peter, and you, Chason, in the work that you're doing as a nonprofit.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's funny because I did a social media post today about one of our partnerships, which we highlight, they're very important to us. As like we mentioned, we do have a fairly limited budget. Just to go backtrack about 2 steps. Overhead is really demonized in nonprofits, and I'm sure you guys have listened. If you haven't, Dan Pelota's famous TED Talk about overhead. I've listened to that thing like 20 times, and I still
Yeah,
hear something
I
new.
love that.
So, we've got. I make a salary. I mean, I've got kids. I've got a family to support. So we make money, and we got to put fuel in our truck, and get the tires changed and all that. But we do want to be reasonable about it. So ours is probably high. It's definitely higher than 13%. It might be 15 or 17% if we add in some U.S. stuff, but we keep it pretty low. And partnerships are so critical for small organizations in particular because it really allows us to broaden the scope of what we can do without having to learn from scratch. So yesterday we were in a meeting all day with one of our partners. It's called Convoy of Hope. They're based in Springfield, Missouri. We do a lot. We do some agriculture projects with them, some women's entrepreneurship projects, and they inject not just resources but also knowledge into our organization. We work with a lot of government agencies here on the ground as well, because a lot of what we do as nonprofits is sort of quasi-governmental work, right? I mean, we provide public services that we all would like the governments, whether it's a national government, state, local, whatever, to provide, but the governments can't fix everything either. So we have to be realistic about that. So we supplement public works. And those are partnerships as well. So we do have a wealth of local partners here on the ground, and we're excited about this new partnership that's brewing. So that was a great lead-in question, Tom, to the reason we're here, right?
Yes. I mean, that's fantastic. We are so stoked. So everybody that's watching this, if you don't know already, because we've been kind of putting it out a little bit here and there, and this is going to air at the very beginning of February with our Funky Friday posts. But Rayo de Sol and our organization, HR for You, are taking Transformation Kitchen global. We're going global. We're going to help with the build out. We're going to help with some fundraising. We're going to help. I'm actually going to be there in July. So I finally got my stuff from the Boys and Girls Club, and I'm like, so July, I'm going to be out there, and my wife is concerned that I might not come back, but I'm still trying to brush up on my Spanish. Donde está el baño is not going to cut it, when I am there. So I've got to do a little bit better and put together some more sentences beyond where is the bathroom. So I am so thrilled. Transformation Kitchen in cahoots with Rayo de Sol, our first one being built outside the United States. And look, this is so exciting. All the things that we're going to do. And in March 29th, we're going to have an event in New York City. We will have details flooding out to you all during February and March. You've got 2.5 months to think about it, to save the date, to make sure you're ready to go. But come join us March 29th, Saturday, March 29th in New York City. If you're in and around the area, come on out and come show some love. We're looking, it's probably going to be about $20 a ticket. We're only asking you to bring a book, for his educational program. So if you grab a book for kids in Spanish, and again, we'll have all these details later for you, but really stoked to be doing this with you, Peter. We are so excited as an organization to have the opportunity to serve. And I'm excited about being there and seeing you again in person and seeing what you've been doing and then seeing how I can help. I'm stoked, man.
Yeah, this is phenomenal for us. As I mentioned, our community development program, we're focusing on vocational ed and how to get people trained, with practical job skills that can help them generate more income. Poverty is not just about money, but money is a big part of it. At the end of the day, a lot of the stuff that we do could be replaced by people having more income. And in our small business development, we really focus on people creating very practical businesses, and there's nothing more practical, there's nothing more useful that everybody in the world, everybody in this country needs every day but food, right? So cooking, we've done a lot in the past of cooking and baking courses. I mentioned we've set up some bakeries, but we have a space in our office. We built an office community center building last year, and we've got a space that's sort of underutilized right now. When you build a building, you have all these grand ideas about how it's going to work, and then reality sets in. So we've got a space that's perfect, that's really not getting as much use as it should. And our goal with this partnership is to convert that into a teaching kitchen, like a transformation kitchen, where we can have courses going permanently, full time for men and women of all ages that want to learn about cooking and baking and everything in the kitchen.
We're excited.
I love it.
Super
Here you
excited.
go. You can transform cultures by transforming food. And you transform food by transforming
Hey,
the kitchen.
can I borrow that?
Woo!
Like
Wow.
Listen, I'm excited about this partnership for a couple of reasons. Hearing and knowing the work that you all do is one thing, but both of you, from my experience and relationship, I know that you have a very strong spiritual undercurrent in all that you do. So by extension, everyone who interacts with your work or supports your work, I know that those are resources aimed in a powerful direction, because I know that your heart is pure when it comes to wanting to just serve and help people grow and get better. So thank you both for the work that you do, and I'm excited to see what comes from the partnership.
Oh my goodness.